From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Open Line.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Open Line. I'm Carrie Sharp. I'm glad you're here with me tonight. We're going to be talking about Metro's plan to get students back into the classroom and how virtual learning has gone the last several weeks. I have Fran Bush, a school board member, joining me, as well as Steve Glover, a Metro Council member at large, but also a former school board member. Fran, Steve, good evening to both of you.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good evening. I want to say right from the get-go, I want to remind our viewers that this is Open Line. So this is your chance to call in, get your questions answered about what's going on in Metro schools, also how Metro Council affects what's going on in Metro schools. Perhaps Steve can speak to that. Go ahead and give us a call. Numbers on the bottom screen, 615-737+ is the number. I think most people know, but since the beginning of the typical school year, Metro has been learning all online. That will change after fall break when the youngest of students, kindergarten through second, goes back. Fran, tell me your perspective, how things have gone to date.
Well, since August, when we made the announcement that we're going to go virtual, since that date and now to this date, we have lost over 4,000 students since we've been virtual. This is unprecedented. This is unprecedented times, but this is definitely something that we have never seen before. So there is a major concern of how many students we've lost since virtual learning, which basically tells the story, right, that virtual learning is not for all of our kids.
And it equates to about 4% of the expected population, that 4,000 student loss. But it is greater in some grades, particularly the younger ones, than others. Where do you think those 4,000 have gone? It's not that people are moving out of Nashville.
Yeah, so you have a combination. You do have some that there's a small percentage that are moving out of the county. You have parents who decided to homeschool, and you've also had parents to go to private sectors.
Why is this particularly concerning for you? Because some people would say, well, it's less students to worry about.
Well, no, that's really a major concern to lose any students. 500. When you say 4,000 and it is 4%, that's something that we've never seen before. And right, because virtual learning in this space and place has not been not just popular, but it has not been a complete success for our students. You do have students that are doing okay virtually, but the vast majority of our students are not. We have a lot of students that are from underserved communities that don't have the support. We have students that are not logging in. We have truancy, over 1,000 truancy letters that have been far. You have parents who have just given up because they have to work. And academically, the Florida virtual learning space is just not on grade level. It's a very rigorous program. It's definitely not able to support the students, especially the early learners.
When Dr. Battle announced that the kindergarten through second grade would go back after fall break, but that high school students, it'll be a phased-in approach, and high school will not go back, part of it, until next year. That means some of those children will have been out of school, out of a school classroom for 10 months. You have spoken out against this plan.
Yes, I have definitely spoken out against this plan. Now that we had our survey, so we had a second survey that we just did this month, and from those results we have 54% of students, parents that want the in-person option. Therefore, that decreases our student base in the schools by almost 50%. So why is it that our high schoolers are not phased in after fall break? All of the students should be phased in at that time, because now we have school buildings with good ventilation that can transition back safely back into our schools, and that means all of our students.
Steve, I want to bring you into this conversation. Thank you for your patience. You have sat on the school board before. What is your perspective of what's going on with Metro Nashville Public Schools?
Well, I think it's idiotic. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think to be able to do what they're doing right now to our children is literally something that should never, ever have happened. The damage that we're doing to our children is, I don't know how we make it up, quite frankly, because as you just said, high schoolers are going to be out of school for 10 months. So last year, and it was really unforeseeable, and I don't know how you'd have gotten around it, but the graduation couldn't happen. This year, we've taken away half of the year from our seniors. As far as our early learners, to try and do virtual for kindergarten 1, 2, 3, even 4 and 5 is something that is unheard of, to be able to do something like that, especially with the population that we have. Our children already have enough challenges as it is. So now, because we've had 4,000 students leave the system, that's almost $40 million roughly that has also left the system. So when we're looking at economic times that continue to be a challenge, we just keep adding more and more challenges on top of that. And I don't know when it stops, because here's the thing that bothers me the most. When our students do get back, how in the world do our teachers and our parents and our students actually get back up to speed to where they are not cheated out of a full life because the learning environment's not there? And to make it up, I mean, they're going to be greater than a year behind when they come back.
What are the conversations on the school board right now? Have you been privy to how many teachers are willing to come back, Fran?
So they just sent out to the board a survey or an update of where we are on our teachers. They're still collecting data, which is kind of late. I mean, we should have been planning a little bit sooner of those teachers that are wanting to return back to the classroom. And right now they're still, trying to figure out the teachers that are coming back. Are we going to meet the demands of those teachers? Are we going to meet the demands and making sure that they have the proper PPE? So there's so many different layers to having those teachers come back in person. We do have a lot of teachers that want to come back in person. They just want to make sure that those asks are done as far as proper PPE. Those that don't want to come back and want to stay virtual, they're still working out those pieces, and it's really sticky.
I heard originally from a lot of parents who, when the school board said, okay, we're going to send out a survey, you need to tell us what you want to do for the rest of the year, a lot of parents pushed back and said, but you're not answering our questions about what that could look like. Will my child keep their same teacher? How long is this commitment? So on and so forth. What were you hearing from parents?
Well, there's so many major concerns from the parents. I mean, parents are very disappointed, okay? The parents that I've talked to, the number of phone calls I've received, the number of emails that we receive, parents are grateful for, safety and doing it that way. But they also are saying, okay, we hear your metrics, we see these numbers, but we're not comfortable because we're only going off of one side, and that's just the health department side. There are so many different experts that have tried to give us advice to get back into those classrooms safely way before now. We're going back into October. We're going into October, transition our kids back into school, which is so late in the year. And like Steve just said, there's going to be so much learning loss. We're talking about 1.5, 2 years of gaining those academic supports back to those students. They're not going to be on grade level. Literacy is going to plummet. And teachers, they've done the best job they could in this learning space, this virtual space, but they're going to have their hands full on trying to get these kids caught up.
Please forgive me because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we heard from Dr. Schwinn, I think just last week, about early testing and assessment at the 3rd grade level. And I think usually Tennessee's at a 33% reading proficiency at 3rd grade level, which is not good to begin with. And now it was down to like 16 to 17%. Because of that large learning gap from March until now. And I do wonder what it will be like once we get the Metro students back into the classroom, because they really have gone quite a long time, longer than many other districts in our Middle Tennessee area, to stay virtual only. Steve, when we come back from break, I want to talk to you about this 34% property tax increase, the effort to recall it. I know you're a fiscal conservative. I want to talk specifically about what this would mean for the schools. So we'll get into all of that. There's a lot to wade into, and we'll do it after this commercial break. Stay with us. I do want to remind you, if you have a question, call in now. We'll get you lined up during the break, 615-737+.